dream. One swimming up, one swimming downstream. The Pisces life, the Pisces life. Two fish living in a dream. One swimming up, one swimming downstream. The Pisces life, 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 the Pisces life.
Oh, girl, it's allergy season. I got on my Be Author voice, baby. Let me tell you what the pharmacist told me today. He said, you know, there really are some advantages to wearing these masks outside of not catching COVID. He said that it has been record-breaking how low, how few prescriptions he's had to fill for antibiotics.
Because folks are not outside in the ragweeds, in the moss, in the mold. There's no spores entering into folks' olfactory situations.
Yes, he said flu season was down as well.
Which is great because that was a serious concern of co-virus catching.
Yes.
So I'm just really excited that people are okay or doing better, at least in reference to some of those things that typically ail us, but we still out here running scared from COVID.
Yes. Well, some people ain't running scared at all, sis. Actually, let us not tell that lie.
Apparently.
You know, we are greater than 500,000 deaths. We are 7 variants still.
Yes.
And this week's news, Texas and Mississippi just decided, you know what? We do not need any masks anymore. We don't need any seating restrictions. Everybody just go. As a matter of fact, the Texas Governor Abbott, tweeted out, Texas is 100% open. Okay.
Just out here, just doing whatever. And
it's open.
Just people just out here catching it and dying. And I just read 2 very disturbing news stories about COVID. Dr. Fauci submitted a warning of the 4th COVID wave as some restrictions are eased because, of course, people are not like easing into it. They just, you know, as they say, balls to the wall. I'm coming out, coming, and not easing into it. Like, okay, like I'm not taking my mask off. I'm just, you know, maybe I'll go to the grocery store today or something. But the other thing that was really heartbreaking, and if you listeners listen to our Current Flow episodes, we spoke with the last responders.
Yes.
I read a story about a town in California that is close to the border where the funeral home is now full of deceased people, and they've had to take their chapel and take it offline because they needed to stack the bodies in the chapel so that people can't even now do those funerals that they were doing because the COVID funerals are still in effect, people.
Right.
They're not, you're not just, you know, having 85 people at the repast.
Oh, but folks want to, though. Oh, they want to. It's so much. Our people in Mississippi, Jackson, Mississippi, is going on week number 3 without water. That's correct. Week number 3 without water. And they've also released the restrictions 100% on everything. Casino filled to the limits.
I just don't get it, sis. I mean,
I don't either.
I understand. We say this every week. We say this that we understand. We're like, we understand. We want to go outside too.
Right.
But at this point, you know, as what my grandmother said, people think fat meat ain't greasy. But we know it's greasy. And how do we know? Because we've had plenty of relatives who've passed away from high blood pressure and heart disease. So we know it's greasy because those folks ain't been doing so well. So I don't know, sis. It feels a little hopeless.
I try not to worry about it. I've accepted the fact that I will probably wear a mask for the rest of my life. Maybe I'll go down to a cloth mask. I don't know. It depends on how under control they get this situation. The vaccines are becoming available. Johnson & Johnson just got approved for their one-shot vaccine. People are trying to get that. It's just interesting here in Michigan as well as Illinois. We are both in the next open call, and since they haven't hit my age bracket yet, or yours, we'll just be waiting. We'll just be waiting. But, it's all good. It's all good. Things will turn around eventually. I'm just glad that I'm getting the courage to, get out just a little bit. And by get out just a little bit, I mean, like, I went to curbside for my birthday a couple of times. I felt like why did I feel like dining out,
Right. Like you just even sitting in your car
Yes.
with other people sitting in their car feels
Yes.
like we are connected.
Yes.
Because that's really it. It's not even so much as that I miss the things that I used to do, but certainly miss the people that I used to see.
Yes.
Was sitting on a call with some colleagues on a project that they're working on, and they were just like, we just want to sit in a coffee shop and talk tech. Can we do that?
Right, please.
Can we just make jokes about technology like we used to?
Yes, please.
I'm like, in August, let's hope that we'll be able to sit outside and with our masks on and see each other from a very far distance. Like I don't want to be all up in your situation where I crack a good joke and you give me one of those.
And then
that's lots of projectile coming in my direction.
Too much projectile.
Sister, we welcome them to the show.
Girl, we forgot. You know what? Hi.
Hey, y'all.
Hello. I am JustLetitia. Welcome to the 157th episode of the Pisces Life Podcast and Network. Boom.
Yes. Hello, folks. It's me, Kai Love. Peace, y'all. I hope y'all are doing well and that you've been experiencing some joy amidst all of this chaos in our lives.
Hallelujah.
So, hey, we missed y'all. Hope y'all are doing good.
We hope you guys have been enjoying this good content that we've been putting out. Educators, teachers, parents, friends, please, countrymen, aunties in the village, everybody. Check out that episode with Dr. Mordecai Brownlee down in Texas, the only HBCU and Hispanic serving community college, period. Ain't no other one. And they are in Texas, and my goodness, they've been trying their best to make it and hang in there. So we've got Texas and Mississippi on our hearts tonight because it's just something going on. It is something going on. Now, before we get into our regular show, we wanted to let you listeners know that we have launched Survivance, Life 1 Year Living in the Pandemic.
Yes.
Sis, I'm excited. This is the first funded storytelling project for the Pisces Life in partnership with the Henry Williams Love Foundation. Sis, will you please share a little bit more about the Henry Williams Love Foundation?
Henry Williams Love Foundation, or HWLF for short, is a foundation that I started in partnership with my brothers to honor our father who passed away in May of 2017. Henry Williams Love Foundation has a pretty simple mission in that we are trying to provide advocacy and supportive services to youth and their families. So our first thought is always youth, and then we extend out our programming to ensure that we're treating or servicing or loving on, if you will, the whole family. We have a couple of different areas of focus. We do unplanned loss emergency services and advocacy. That's like one arm of focus. My father lost his mother and father at a young age. And so we try and endeavor to be supportive to families that experience loss that they weren't prepared for. The second thing that we focus on is technology uptake. For those that know me outside of the Pisces life, I have a pretty deep civic technology life and have built a couple of apps and things of that nature. So my father was a big advocate for technology and said that as long as I knew how to use tech, that I would always have a job. And in a way, he was very, very right with that thought. So we do technology uptake and try to increase technology access in places and spaces that need it the most. Our third area of focus is around arts appreciation. My father loved poetry and music and art generally, and that's kind of where I've got it from. All my poetry and singing and songwriting is just an extension of him, which is an extension of his own parents too, from what I understand. So we try to put art in places and spaces and use it as a transformative healing tool, which, you know, we need that, especially like right now. If we go into some of our neighborhoods and there are beautiful things to look at, it just makes you feel better. So we want that for all communities. Like, you don't have to be wealthy to have art that inspires you in your community. And then our last focus really is around building Black businesses, specifically small Black businesses, those that didn't learn, didn't go to a business school, don't have an MBA, but have a good idea, but just don't know how to put some of the pieces together to make that business sing and zing. And so we have a big program called Black Business Incubation, which provides a bit of support for Black businesses. And there's a couple other programs that fall under that arm as well. So if anyone's interested in learning more about the Henry Williams Love Foundation, please visit henrywilliamslove.org. That is Henry, Henry, Williams, WILLIAMS, love, LOVE.org. Yay! Henry Williams Love.
Yes.
The Pisces Life.
Yes.
Together.
Yes.
A moment.
It's a beautiful moment, sis.
And the moment is called Survivance. So we invite you, our listeners, in the greater Chicago area who self-identify as ALAANA, that's African or African American, Latinx, Asian, Arab, and or Native American. Please join us in sharing your story of survivance. Please, you hear me on this air, big. Please join us in sharing your stories of survivance. We know it's been a whole year. It's been a whole year since most of us went into quarantine. We know there's some stories, and we want to hear all about it. We want you to join our digital time capsule.
You can visit our website. It is up. It is running. It is ready for you and your stories. This, again, is going to be our digital space for all of our storytelling projects. So the website is survivance.io. That's survivance.io. So for more information, including how to submit your stories for this project. Additionally, like I was saying, this is a brand. It's our brand, our new brand. So we aim to start with Life 1 Year, living in the pandemic. And that's our current focus. And we hope to expand this particular theme and project to other cities across the US, definitely, and even across the globe, because that's why it's pandemic. It is global, okay?
It is. And we want to hear the stories are so rich. Oh my goodness. They are what connects cultures, but it really is, the ethnographic, historical reference point that we need. This moment, this pandemic, first of all, I mean, I consider myself to be pretty knowledgeable about a couple things, not all things, but a couple things, but never in a gazillion years did I ever, in my purview, on my to-do list, in my journal, in my wildest dreams, like in my drunken dreams, I never was like, you know what would we do if it was a pandemic? Ain't never thought it. Ain't never thought about it.
Never would have thunk it.
Never would have thunk it. So we know that because we, for the most part, weren't prepared for this. And certainly that's A. And B, who thought that a whole year we would still be living like this, right?
Right, with 7 variants.
With 7 variants and all types of policy things and personality things and presidential things and a whole bunch of non-presidential things. So those stories are rich, and this is a once in a lifetime moment, and we want to be able to capture those stories and share them broadly and widely. So visit our website. Please. Submit a story. Again, we're starting in Greater Chicago, but we will very, very soon be accepting stories from all over the place. I love that.
Yes, I do. I love us. And since the mission of Henry Williams Love Foundation is beautiful, it's inspiring, it's uplifting. And, you know, Chicago has a true jewel in what you all are doing, a true treasure and a great resource. So
thank you. I appreciate that. And speaking of resources, the Chicago ALAANA project of Survivance is sponsored by the Field Foundation of Illinois.
Yes.
Now, if anybody else just want to help the sisters out and let us tell these good stories, we are welcoming you to connect with us, partner with us in your philanthropic organization, investment opportunity, or if you just want to drop the donation so that we can continue to push this project out, please visit the website, again, survivance.io, and click that donate button. We will greatly appreciate that support.
That works for us. Speaking of surviving, sis, let's get into this current news, girl.
Yes, because you know that's a survivance issue. We surviving that, for real. So our first story today is hashtag survivance of the oldest. I found this story and it tickled me. So for our audience, for you listeners, when we find something that tickles us, we typically share with each other to determine if it's going to be something we talk about on the show. So I found this and I shared this with the good sister Cecilia because I just was cracking up. So let me set the stage for you. 105-year-old woman gets COVID. And certainly, based on all of the research and medical predictions that the elderly was the most vulnerable, certainly somebody somewhere probably counted this good sis out.
Right?
But this good sis, 105 years young, beat COVID due to eating gin-soaked raisins.
Sis, she said gin-soaked raisins.
Gin-soaked raisins. Sis would eat 9 gin-soaked golden raisins. Let's be clear. This is not
them old black creasely ones. that was a plum before. Not them gang.
Not them. 9 gin-soaked golden raisins she has eaten each morning for most of her life. And they are believing that this potentially is a scientific miracle. And it's either going to help people beat COVID or it's going to have a whole bunch of drunk folk
in the senior home. Give me 15 soaked raisins then. Hell, I'm trying to fight arthritis and the COVID. Get me. Because that would be my relative in the nursing home. One of my uncles, I'm going to need me about 25 of these right here. You know, people be asking me about where you get the gin soaked raisin.
Exactly. I was going to say, that's my family member. That's going to be having the racket going.
Right. The underground.
Underground.
Meet me by the walkers and the dentures. And I'm going to hand you off. I swear, if you tell them where I got it, you won't get no more oxygen. How about that?
Right.
You rat me out, I'm shouting out your oxygen.
Tap your cane 3.5 times and turn the handle to the right. If you turn it to the left, I'm gonna think that you was the narc. We ain't doing it.
Nope. You better get the signals clear in here today.
Yes, sis. Oh my goodness.
Good Lord, that was a good story.
Such a good story. I'm just like, that is so funny.
105 years
105 years old. The things that we that we do every day in our lives that, you know, we attribute to what's keeping us healthy. You know what I mean? Like,
I promise you, the first 6 months of the damn pandemic, I know a shot kept me alive.
Look, Jen.
Tennessee honey. I can recommend that too.
Oh, I love me some Tennessee honey. That is a nice beverage to partake in.
Come on, Mr. Jack.
The nice little smooth beverage, you know, sweet enough, but not too sweet. So,
and it's a dark liquor that don't make you act the fool. It makes you act real mellow. Could be age too, but I don't, you know.
Yeah, no, dark liquor ain't never made me like. It's that vodka.
Yeah, vodka has had me singing. What was the name of that song by Gladys Knight? Neither one of us. Neither one of us is gonna be the first to say goodbye. You hear me? I hate to think that we not gonna make it. I hate to think it. But we gonna be done with this here today.
Sis, it's so funny. The vodka makes me sing songs too. I will break out easily on any booth, countertop, card table. Sunny days. And the living is easy.
Come on now.
Really? Wait a minute. Now, mind you, in my mind, the world is moving that slow. if a camera was on me and panned down, everybody else around me is shake that booty, shake that booty, just like
body yaddy 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 yaddy.
That body yaddy. I just wow. Have you seen that? What's it called? What's it called? If it's up. What's that Cardi B song?
I don't know. I can't keep up.
Yes.
That's not the name of the song, but I literally can't keep up. But Up is in it. Oh, that is the name of it. Up, I think.
Oh yeah. And everybody's been doing it. And you shared who was it? Was it the battle of the delivery drivers?
Girl, them delivery drivers been hitting it. You hear me?
Mm-hmm.
My favorite one, I still think I gotta give it to the good sis from UPS. She shocked me. She jumped up out that UPS brown light. Let me show you what brown can do for you this morning. Okay? All these packages is on hold. I'm about to represent for the brown and the gold.
Baby, because when it's up.
Okay. Let me roll this motor over here, however they be doing. Girl, I'm so not interested. I thought maybe that would be a good way to exercise and all. No. I don't need that frustration.
The music doesn't speak to me.
Me either.
That's
girl.
what it
None
is.
Of it.
It doesn't feel like inspirational, which is where probably the space that I'm in. It doesn't feel soulful, like it can take care of my soul. It doesn't feel
energizing.
It doesn't feel like that I can relate. Like it's not my story.
Right. So absolutely. Mm-hmm. Speaking of not your story, girl, this next story is important. Sis, it is important to what we aim to do for the rest of our glorious days.
Yes.
And for the next steps that we want to take with our Survivance brand. This is about the status of Black women in media. This comes from the African American Policy Forum. I really encourage you to bookmark that if you haven't already. They are a wonderful wealth of resource of information. This is a caveat about why we as Black women in media, including podcasting, need to tell our own stories. So I want to run through some statistics. There are key 5 things, sis. First of all, the overarching concern is this. Black women are still underrepresented when it comes to being in media.
Which is crazy to me. I don't get this at all.
I don't get it at all. Even as recent as the Golden Globes, sis, not one Black journalist got selected for the press pool, not one. And then the little director of the press pool, Little Miss Australia, she says, we really didn't, think about it really.
Is that
Diversity
right?
and inclusion is just something we don't really think about, really. And she turned her nose up so tight up in here, sis. It made me mad. But these are 5 things that we should know, you should know. And sis, some of them made me want to cry. Really, they did. 1, Black women make up only 2.78% of journalists. And 2.16% of newsroom leaders. Another statistic, only 26% of Black women report seeing people in Hollywood as welcome to diversity, compared to 42% of white women and 63% of white men. Hollywood has a serious problem. I tell you, pursuing that creative pursuit as a screenwriter, as a performer with comedy and all of that stuff. And, sis, when the curtains start falling, and you start realizing how poorly writers are treated, how at the beginning, a lot of those fellowships and whatnot, you're competing with people who are already on a show, who are hoping to get a space and place to break out to write their own show. I mean, people are not as welcome to the diversity like they claim they are. And it's been sad to see, and we know this. Point number 3, Black women in media are 3 times more likely than white women to report feeling like token hires. Just when I was 17, working in the newsroom in my hometown, there were at the time 5 of us. As I began to progress in my education and work throughout college at my same newspaper, would come back every summer, come back home. I had my little column that I would write. Sis, there was at one time, the last summer that I came home, there was only me and one of my other girlfriends who now lives in Atlanta. I haven't talked to her in a while. I should call her, by the way. It was just crazy. That we went from, and you heard what I said, the number wasn't that big to begin with.
Right.
Okay. Even when I've worked at a larger Black or predominantly African-American city at a newspaper, large newspaper, there haven't been that much representation, not like you would think. I think it might have been 12 in a newsroom.
Easily.
Next statistic, sis. Black women are woefully underrepresented on cable TV with only a 2.5% share of screen time. I wish that I had this statistic the other day, and you know why. But this is so sad. Sis, what show outside of Love and Basketball, Basketball Wives.
It's same difference.
Right? Love and Hip Hop. The Braxtons, although I don't think they're coming back. Growing Up Hip Hop, Ready to Love. Outside of reality TV, Viola Davis is no longer on How to Get Away with Murder.
Correct.
Kerry Washington is no longer on Scandal. Even BET, we get some of it. When are we going to get the second season of First Wives Club? Sisters is on there with Tyler Perry. Queens is on. if we're not on our network for us, by us,
Correct.
we're woefully underrepresented on major cable TV.
Absolutely. You cannot go to a cable network in one night or across a series of time slots in any particular day, know that you're going to get a show where there's going to be a Black woman as the lead. And if there is a Black woman that is the lead, normally it has to be in some multicultural relationship or family, or they play the backdrop to a predominantly white
cast
storyline and cast. Mm-hmm.
Sis, that is so important what you just said. We're the secondary feature if we're featured at all. Mm-hmm. Now, sis, I'm gonna put you out just a little bit. The good people didn't know that you were, well, they do know, because they know how we do here. But you've had opportunities to appear on camera and do some things, and on stage and do some things, Even in those spaces, sis, were you one of the few Black people that was auditioning even?
Always. Okay. One.
Please speak to it.
Absolutely. There is a lot of artistic spaces, especially, as well as theatrical productions and such. And when you get your script, when you are, forwarded the script, and for roles that people want to consider you for, if you audition for it, or even if you're called just for it because they know, they send you these scripts where it's this role, Black woman.
Right. And then sometimes sassy.
Right. Sassy and snappy. There's not much, what's the word? Flavor. There's not much personality archetype. It's very flat roles, or it's the same roles. And so it's very difficult when you show up for these auditions. And then there's certainly lots of white people, white women, lots always. And then maybe a few Black people, Black women, Black men. And it's such a lonely space. Yeah. Because you're going out for the role, and then the white people come over and ask you what role you're there for, because they, it's almost like, oh, we know you couldn't be going for Annie. You could not. No,
you're
ma'am.
not going to be Melissa, are you?
No, that's not who you're going for. Like, I didn't see, and then you'll get this. Yeah, I read the whole script. I didn't see a role for like, what are you, like an extra or
not extra?
Yeah. Oh, it's the acting space, which is why I think I've kind of moved more into like theatrical music production and solo shows, because then you can create your own version of your theatrical moment. Okay. And if you're in like a ensemble cast, a smaller cast, like the diversity is welcome. So I perform with a group here in Chicago called Beast Women. Beast Women is an amazing ensemble of wacky, weird, and everything in between talent. And I do a lot of kind of my social justice pieces, where I bring that to the stage with dancing and singing and things like that, in costume. And I love performing with Beast Women. And we use we were in one of the historically important small theaters on the north side of Chicago. But the audiences were all white most of the time, except if you had your people coming to see you. And it would be packed, so a small theater, 150 people in the theater, packed. But the majority of the audience was white. But they endeavored at Beast Women to reach out to the south sides and the west sides of the city, which is how I got involved in it, because the two ladies that are the leader of Beast Women specifically endeavored to diversify the space so that it's women of all shapes, sizes, colors,
Yes.
statuses, and everything in between. So
Yes.
kudos to the Beast Women. Yay.
Hey, thank you for sharing that. And when you talk about representation matters, you know, productions and people behind efforts like Beast Women give, you know, space and voice and place for us to be.
Mm-hmm.
And the last statistic in this, the status of Black women in media, 85% of Black women survey respondents reported regularly seeing the baby mama trope in media, while only 41% saw themselves depicted as beautiful in popular media. Oh, sis, I tell you, there are just some fights that I'm just ready to just give up, you know? And this is one of them. We just don't know why folks just don't want us to be all right with embracing who we are, how we are, what we look like, what we sound like.
It's a tough conversation. It's March, so certainly it's Pisces season, but it's also Women's History Month.
Yes,
and
it is.
So I am just in love with a movement, and I don't know if you're seeing this in your timeline, sis, where there are Black women choosing other Black women to big up for the Women's History Month. We know that women's history and the fight for women's history through the feminism space, and then the further in the womanism space, is rooted in some racial inequity. And so I have a poem that I did for Black History Month that says, "If not now, then when?" This is the perfect time for us to challenge the moments where Black women specifically are left out of the woman space narrative, the fight for equality and advocacy for women in places and spaces. Like, this is the time to really say, but yeah, does that mean all women? Or does that mean...
Listen, be specific, sis.
You said be specific. So yes, the representation matters, Letitia, and I think it's so important that we continue to have this conversation because we're part of this space. And I believe really sincerely, and I can't remember the author of that tweet was, but the tweet said that independent small media led by Black women specifically, who are outreaching and trying to get the stories and trying to get the interviews, are turned down. But that same ask can come from a white media outlet, and the Black people or stars or whoever run to them, you know. So this is not even, you know, talking about like white media getting turned down by white, you know, celebrities or others. This is Black folks who will not interview with the smaller junctions, but will break their neck to get on the other junctions because they feel, and it's like, okay, well, if you withhold the story and only gave the story to the small Black people, then people are going to come because they're coming for you. You know what I mean? So then it talks about what is your role as a celebrity or as a person of interest. What is your collective responsibility and role as a person of color, as a person of interest, or a star in helping to build equity in the media space? Like,
oh, that's a good question. We should write that down.
We should ask it.
We should ask it, and we shall. We'll get that answer.
Because to me, it seems like, I don't know.
We should be the first ones. I'll say it. We should be the first ones that you want to get an interview with to help us as well. It's a two-way street here. And we're the ones watching you as well. I give you my time.
Correct.
I pay attention to your shows. I'm helping get those ratings up too.
Absolutely. I donate to the cause. I send money to the YouTubers that I follow and watch all the time. It may not be much, but I feel like I'm consuming your content for free. I want to honor the work because I know how much work it takes to get on these mics every week and do content and tell stories and just bring the energy and the information that we think that people want to hear, you know? So I really would like to understand that. Like that's like a whole conversation in itself. I would love to bring a guest on to talk about that.
Well, we shall. We're going to put a pin in that until we can get an expert in here to help us decipher it.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, my goodness, sis.
Yes.
I'm looking at this clock up over here, girl. And before we get out of here, we just wanted to share these things with you because the more representation, especially in independent media like podcasting, the more representation that we have of us, we get ownership of our stories in this way. We control our narrative. We are able to do what we need to do. This fight for space in media for Black women reminds me almost of the way musicians have to fight to own their own masters, you know? Yeah. And what I mean by that is without Kathy Hughes, Radio One, you know, TV One, without Kathy Hughes, why is she still the one and only or one of few in 2021? Why do we just have 3 or maybe 4 Black networks that you would consider Black?
Correct. And that extends beyond television. That's radio too.
Right.
That's podcast networks too. The ones that get paid, right? Like not
big time.
Not the ones that are, you know, kind of doing it for free or as a hobby, but like professionally.
Yes.
There's so much to unpack here, sis. Oh my God.
We got to have somebody on. Oh my goodness, sis. Well, this has been a really good episode.
Absolutely. This has been yet another episode of the Pisces Life. We thank you so much for listening to us. We appreciate you. Thanks for sharing. Our numbers are going up, which means y'all are out there doing your work. Y'all are sharing it with your networks. Thank you so much for advocating for us and supporting us as we continue to reach for the stars. If you're looking to connect with the show, we are on the Twitter as Pisces Podcast, 2 words. We're also on Facebook and Instagram as the Pisces Life. Listen to our shows there. We post all of the links. You can comment. We comment back, and we will continue to move forward and do good things. And don't forget to visit Survivance.io, SURVIVANC.io. Share your stories if you're in the Chicagoland area and identify as part of the ALAANA group. Sis, if they're looking for you, where can they find you at?
They can find me at IamJustLetitia. That's LETITIA.
That was beautiful.
Sometimes I just get bored and I just have to do something different.
It was so dramatic. It was such.
You wasn't expecting it either.
I was captured. I was captured, y'all. I was captured.
Oh my goodness. And I was getting ready to say, and if they looking for you, sis, where can they find you being all shocked and old?
Yes, they could find me looking like how Whoopi Goldberg was looking like in Color Purple with her little hands on her knees, listening to Leticia sing. You can find me on Twitter. I am Kai Loves You, KAILOVSU. On Instagram, just add a 2 to that. Kai Loves You too. We are out of here, y'all. Peace.
Peace. Don't you forget to go to Survivance.io.
Boom.
2 fish living in a dream. One swimming up, one swimming downstream. The Pisces life. 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 The Pisces life.